Dos sentimientos tengo desde hoy
I have two
para con mis
feelings
hermanos islámicos.
for my Islamic brothers.
Two sentiments for my Muslim brothers and sisters.
Primero, mi saludo
First,
por celebrarse hoy el Día del Señor.
I recognize that today is the day of sacrifice.
My greetings as they celebrate the Feast of Sacrifice.
Hubiera querido que mi saludo
And
fuese más caluroso.
I wish I could make this warmer, this greeting to be warmer.
Segundo sentimiento es mi cercanía.
But I am close, and my sentiments are close.
Mi cercanía ante la tragedia.
I am thinking of them, I'm close to them in the face of tragedy
Que su pueblo ha sufrido hoy en la Meca.
Tragedy that they suffered in Mecca.
En este momento de oración,
In this moment, I give assurances of my prayers.
me uno y nos unimos
I unite myself with you all
en la plegaria a Dios, nuestro Padre Todopoderoso y Misericordioso.
a prayer to Almighty God, all merciful.
Escuchamos al apóstol. Alégrense, aunque ahora sea preciso padecer un poco en pruebas diversas. Estas palabras nos recuerdan algo esencial. Tenemos que vivir nuestra vocación con alegría. Esta bella catedral de San
This beautiful
Patricio,
Cathedral of St. Patrick's,
construida a lo largo de
built over many years
con el sacrificio,
through the sacrifices of many men and women,
es símbolo del trabajo
is a symbol of the work of generations
de sacerdotes,
of
religiosos,
American priests and religious and lay faithful who helped build up the church
de la Iglesia
in
en los Estados
the United States.
Son muchos los sacerdotes y consagrados
Many priests and religious in this country that have not only in education
han tenido un papel fundamental,
but in other areas have had a central role,
padres,
assisting
la labor de
parents
dar a sus hijos
in handing down to their children the food that nourishes them for life.
Muchos lo hicieron a costa de
Many
grandes
did so
sacrificios
at the cost of extraordinary sacrifice and with heroic charity.
Pienso, por ejemplo,
I think,
Santa Isabel,
for example, of Saint Elizabeth Ann Seton,
fundadora de la primera escuela
who founded the first free Catholic school for girls in the United States, or in Saint John Newman,
del primer sistema
the founder of the first system of Catholic education in this country.
Esta tarde, queridos hermanos,
This evening, my brothers and sisters,
he venido a rezar con ustedes,
I have come to join you in prayer
sacerdotes, consagradas,
that our vocations
para que nuestra vocación siga
as priests
construyendo
will continue to build up the great edifice of God's kingdom in this country.
Sé que ustedes,
I know
cuerpo
that
presbiteral,
as
junto
the
con el
Presbyterian,
pueblo de Dios,
in the midst of God's people,
recientemente han sufrido mucho
you
a causa
recently
de
have
la
suffered greatly
vergüenza
in the not distant past by having to bear the shame of some of your brothers, brothers who have harmed and scandalized the church in the most vulnerable of her members. In the words of the book of Revelation, I know well that you have come forth from the great tribulation, and I accompany you at this time of pain and difficulty. And I thank God for your faithful service to His people, doing so in the hope of helping you to preserve on the path of fidelity to Jesus Christ. And I would like to offer two brief reflections. The first concern is of the spirit of gratitude. The joy of men and women who love God attracts others to Him. Priests and religious are called to find and radiate lasting satisfaction in their vocation. Joy springs from a grateful heart. Truly, we have received much, so many graces, so many blessings, and in this we rejoice. It will do us good to think back on our lives with the grace of remembrance. Remembrance of when we were first called. Remembrance of the road traveled. Remembrance of graces received. And above all, remembrance of our encounter with Jesus Christ so often along the way. Remembrance of the amazement which our encounter with Jesus Christ has awakened in our hearts. Sisters, brothers, priests and religious, to seek the grace of remembrance so as to grow in the spirit of gratitude. Perhaps we need to ask ourselves, are we capable of counting our blessings? Or have I forgotten them? A second area is the spirit of hard work. A grateful heart is spontaneously impelled to serve the Lord and to find expression in a life of commitment to our work. Once we realize how much God has given us, we learn that a life of sacrifice, of working for Him and for others, becomes a privileged way of responding to His great love. Yet, if we are honest, we must recognize how easily this spirit of generous self-sacrifice can be dampened. There are a couple of ways that this can happen, and both are examples of the spiritual worldliness which weakens our commitment to serve as dedicated men and women, and it diminishes the wonder of our first encounter with Christ. We can get caught up in measuring the value of our apostolic works by the standards of efficiency, good management, and outward success, which govern the business world. Not that these things aren't important, of course, but we have been entrusted with a great responsibility. And this is why God's people rightly expect accountability from us. But the true worth of our apostolate is measured by the value it has in God's eyes. To see and evaluate things from God's perspective calls for constant conversion in the first days and years of our vocation, and, need I say, it demands great humility. The cross shows us a different way of measuring success. Ours is to plant the seeds. God sees to the fruits of our labors. And if at times our efforts and works seem to fail and not produce fruit, we need to remember that we are followers of Jesus Christ, and his life, humanly speaking, ended in failure, the failure of the cross. Another danger emerges when we become jealous of our free time. When we think that worldly comforts help us to serve better. The problem with this way of reasoning is that it can blunt the power of God's daily call to conversion, to encounter with him. Slowly but surely, it diminishes our spirit of sacrifice, our spirit of renunciation, and our spirit of hard work. It also alienates people who suffer material poverty and who are forced to make greater sacrifices than those that we make ourselves. Rest is needed, as are moments of leisure and self-enrichment. But we need to learn to rest in a way that deepens our desire to serve with generosity. Closeness to the poor, the refugee, the immigrant, the sick, the exploited, the elderly living alone, prisoners, and all God's other poor will teach us a different way of resting, one which is more Christian and generous. Gratitude and hard work. These are two pillars of the spiritual life which I have wanted to share with you this evening. With you, the priests and religious men and women this afternoon. I thank you for your prayers and your work, and for the daily sacrifices that you make in the various areas of your apostolate. Many of these are known only to God, but they bear rich fruit for the life of the Church. I would especially like to thank and express my esteem and gratitude to the religious women of the United States. What, indeed, what would the Church be without you? Women of strength, fighters, with that spirit of courage which puts you on the front lines in the proclamation of the gospel. To you, religious women, sisters and mothers of this people, I wish to say thank you.
Un gracias muy grande.
A big thank you.
Decirles también que las quiero mucho.
And to tell you that I love you very much. I know that many of you are on the front lines in meeting the challenges of adapting to an evolving pastoral landscape. Like St. Peter, I ask you that regardless of the difficulties and trials you face, be at peace and respond to them as Christ did. He gave thanks to the Father, took up his cross, and looked forward. Dear brothers and sisters, in a few moments, we will sing the Magnificat. Let us commend to Our Lady the work we have been entrusted to do. Let us join her in thanking God for the great things He has done, and for the great things He will continue to do in us and in those whom we have the privilege to serve. Let it thus be.